Welcome to another edition of Influence Today with Chet Tart and Terry Lyles. Glad you could be with us. Today's topic, it's going to be something most people talk about on the street. And welcome, Terry. Glad you're with us.
Thank you.
It's been a while, but I look forward to talking with you today. We're going to talk about anxiety, grief, good grief, disappointment, and how it affects our lives.
Sure.
That's one of the topics that I've been hearing a lot about. And we're going through a very interesting time in our society also with the stock market, the inflation, different things with political issues taking place. So I guess we can wrap this all together and how it affects us. First of all, what would you say is grief and anxiety? What is that?
Well, without being too clinical, I mean, the way I try to share with people is grief is a transitional state from past reality to a new reality. So it's that gulf between what I knew was real to what I need to understand is now real. And it's that letting go process over time, weeks and months or longer, that we actually learn to let go mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So it's a letting go process of what used to be versus what is now creating me to be who I am now.
So what I'm hearing you say is that it's something that's part of our lives. And if we look at it in a positive, good grief way, is that we embrace it, but it helps us move forward. That's what I'm hearing, right?
That's correct. Yeah, because I mean, no one survives life. Life has 100% mortality rate. I mean, everyone's going to die. I mean, so it is what it is. So it's not like I have an antidote to death. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people who'd like to know what that is, and they'd pay you whatever they could to get it. We're all going to die. We have an expiration date. Things perish. Bread, eggs, milk, cheese, blah, blah, blah. They put an expiration date on so the USDA could regulate to say this is going to happen. So, we have an expiration date. We have a sign-on date, which is our birth. We have an expiration date, which is our death. And what we're doing is we live the dash. We live the dash between our birth and our death. So this is about the dash. So what do we do in our dash that makes us who we are before we exit this planet?
It's sort of quote and unquote. We're born with a quote and we're unquoted at the end.
Absolutely.
I like
and
that.
That's the epitaph. You can either write yours or someone else will.
Yeah. So what are some of the things in the environment that would definitely cause us to be griefful?
I mean, listen, we grieve anything we lose. I mean, that could be a loss of a job, loss of an expectation of a job, a relationship, a loss of relationship, a loss of a loved one physically. It could be, the drop in the stock market. I lost money. Anything that we perceive that we lose or lose is a potential grief situation. I mean, we saw this with market crashes in years gone by. From Bernie Madoff and all the billions of dollars that were lost and people that were jumping off buildings and committing suicide because they lost everything. They thought there was no way to build back. There's a lot of reasons why people go through a period of grief, but it's all about loss. And listen, we all lose at times, and winning is not about not losing. Winning is about learning how to lose. And if you lose enough, you might learn how to win. And that's the capitalization on the actual term of winning.
What's unique about what you just said, different people handle it differently. I know people that lose relationships and money and it takes them years and some of them never get over it. And there's other people who go, okay, I got it. I lost. Let me get back to it. Let me fix it up. Tomorrow I'm on a different road. What causes that?
I think it's multiple things. I think it has to do with our personality in some regard. It has to do with, our brain chemistry, how we're wired. People that may be more inclined to depression may struggle more with it by their brain chemistry. Others may not. But at the end of the day, it's all about what is my resiliency factor? Like, how quickly can I bounce back and accept a loss?
Can we get trained? Can we get trained?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I train professional athletes, and part of that training is helping them understand that losing is a part of winning. So it's the recovery speed. How quickly after a loss can you get back to a potential win? It could be right in the middle of a tennis match. I lost the third set. Can you come back for the fourth? I mean, that's a brief grief standpoint. It's not loss of life, it's but I lost. How quickly can you get over it? So loss is really about the transition speed of getting back to a winning perception and attitude so you can win.
So you teach this, you coach people to get
Yep.
over grief faster.
Absolutely.
But
Yep.
what about you when you hit grief? What do? Do you reach out to somebody to help you, or is
Sure.
there tools that you use that would comfort you in a time of grief?
Yeah, it's all the above. I mean, I have people I reach out to, listen, the greatest athletes and performers in the world have coaches. So, they see our blind spots. So anytime we go through a transitional stage, I mean, I do coaching for a living with athletes, corporate executives, performers. And you know what? I need it as well, because there's times when we do go through grief where we just need a sounding board. We need someone who can be a blind spot perspective to actually speak into that space for us and with us and help us kind of get through it. So yeah, and the tools are obviously very important. And the tools are what I write about, what I speak about. And it's understanding, first of all, a loss took place. Number two, there's going to be a process of time to transition from past reality to new reality, and just making sure we go through the stages of grief. And if we do that over a period of time, some people grieve faster than others or longer than others. It's not about a race. It's about processing through it.
It seems to me that no matter what's business or personal, we all need a process, but I didn't know there were stages of grief.
Sure. Yeah.
What would they be?
Yeah, it depends on who you read after. There's multiple stages of grief. The first one is shock. It anesthetizes us. It's kind of like, when something happens right away, we kind of go numb and we can just handle it. It's why people can like lift cars off of people, and you feel strong after someone you love passes for the next day or two, but that shock wears off. And then it turns into this loss depression kind of feeling, and this cathartic, I'm weeping and I'm missing them. And then the depression gets deeper. So it's kind of like, the shock, and then the catharsis, which is the relieving, the crying, the weeping a lot, and then the depression. And then anger is another one, because then we feel like, how did this happen? How could God let this happen? How could this happen to me? And then there's a gradual transition from that anger to negotiating. I wish I could have done this, I could have done that. But the final stage usually ends up on acceptance. Like, hey, I can't bring someone back. I can't bring that loss back on a field or a court or a race a month ago. I have to transition from it. So those stages have to be matriculated through. And I've met with people in counseling, that I was counseling with and coaching, that got stuck in one of those stages. And if you get stuck in one of those stages, you could end up on antidepressants, you could end up with weight management issues, alcoholism, drug addictions, and you don't really realize why until you go back and say, I didn't let go of that stage. I got stuck in depression. I got stuck in anger. I got stuck in negotiating, and I never got to acceptance. And that's a process.
Maybe you could make us aware, and just if someone's walking down this aisle, how not to fall into that, because you just brought up something that I never thought of. If you can't get over the stages, I do see people falling into the drugs and the alcohol stage, and they stay there, and that's a whole different road after that.
Yes, it is.
Is there a way? What stage would you be aware of that, and what awareness should I have so I don't fall into that?
I think, it comes back to the self-awareness, and if we don't have that self-awareness, we need people around us that can say, hey, are you okay? I mean, like you're not yourself lately, or you seem to be abusing something, food, drugs, alcohol, working out, sleeping.
So it becomes obvious to somebody else.
In many cases, it does.
Yeah.
And that's why I think accountability is so important, because if we don't listen to people around us that we love and care about, we end up stuck, and we'll annihilate those people and stay stuck. And there's a lot of people that never just understand they're stuck in a process of grief. And grief, not only does it have stages or a process, it's a transitional place. And if you never transition from one side of the mountain to the other side of the mountain, you're stuck somewhere in the middle. You got to get all the way through to the other side.
And hiring you or hiring a coach helps you through that, because sometimes
Absolutely.
you're just not strong enough to do that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and it's not even just the strength. Sometimes it's just the awareness that I just don't see where
Awareness.
I'm at.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just don't. I'm angry and I'm pissed off all the time, and I don't know why. And somebody keeps calling me out. It's like, dude, you like got an attitude like all the time, and something happened in your life, and I could go back and say, well, yeah, this job thing ended. I got fired. The stock market crashed. I lost all my money. I lost someone in my life. Whatever. Okay, that would make sense. So let's start there. How do we start with getting over anger? Anger is a symptom. It's not a problem. Just like depression is a symptom. It's not a problem. Anxiety is a symptom. It's not a problem. I can go on and on and on psychologically. Okay. So we have to go back to what is the core issue? What is the problem? Why I'm angry, depressed, lonely, exhausted, fatigued? Those are symptoms to something deeper. And with grief, it's usually going back to stuck in one of those stages, and you stay there. And if you don't get out of it, you can't get to the other side of the mountain. You're stuck in that gulf between past and present, and your now present is not what you want, and you blame everybody because of it.
This has been a fascinating conversation, Terry. We're going to do another episode on grief. Would you be willing in the next episode, number one, is to help us through some tools? And since we're all human, what kind of grief have you been through that was powerful so that you were able to get through the other side? Would you share with us in the next episode?
I can do it now, or I can do it on the next one.
Well, let's do it on the next one. All right.
Let's do it. Okay. I've got plenty. I've been grieving my whole life, man. So I got plenty.
All right. Thank you for listening to Influence Today with Chet Tard and Terry Lyles. If they want to get in touch with you, Terry, how do they do that?
TerryLyles.com, TerryLyles.com. There's resources there on grieving, transitioning, all the above, even free giveaways, books, that kind of thing. So be glad to reach out when you can.
And Terry does a very good job of coaching people and getting people to other levels of business and things like that. And I'm in a whole different business. I'm in the Vistage business. Vistage is a group of CEOs that get together once a month. We have speakers that come in, and the group helps each other grow. Have 12 to 15 people in a group, and they're all CEOs, and we talk about issues that will take them to a next level. And if you want to get in touch with me, it's CTART at Vistage, Florida. Vistage is spelled VISTAGE.com. Thanks, Terry. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks.